Dumelang. This week on GMTV, we talk about power. Yes. Do you know your power? Do you realize it? Can you control it? Is it something that you feel that you can engage with? Or does it just happen and you witness it happen around you? Well, this Friday, we unpack everything that has to do with power, especially pertaining to the Ngoma fraternity, talking about the different dynamics between Okobela and Amatwasana and their families and Abokobela. The triangle is a hectic one, it's crazy, yet each influences the other. Stay tuned. Welcome to another great and exciting episode of GMTV. Of course, I'm your host with the most, popularly known as Gogo Moyo. Before we get into the cool and exciting stuff, remember, hit the subscribe button as well as the bell icon for notifications. You won't want to miss any of the videos coming up. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to introduce to you, I'd say a diagram, but a visual representation of three key individuals that come together and form a school of insight, whether they are aware of each other or not. It's the Lethwasa, the trainee, the gifted child who comes into the hut of a Gobela. That's their trainer. This is someone that's already met their ascension and continues. But they've met their first and most basic level of their training, and that's to qualify in who they were training as. The third element is the family. This is the most crucial part actually, because everybody needs to be grounded. They need to belong to a certain group, to a certain name, to know that there's a group of people that's standing behind them to support them in all that they do, no matter what. These three relationships are interchangeable of each other. None of them can exist if one of them is missing in the element. I suppose the most important role here, the most important key player, is Lethwasa. They are the person who introduces their Gobela to their family, or vice versa, their family to their Gobela. Whether it's through dreams, walking down the road and realizing that you've seen someone or they look familiar, or maybe you get into a taxi one odd morning and you find yourself there, at this specific house, at this specific number, at this real here address. How we find our callings differs from each person, so we'll not limit you to that. But what you need to know is your influence to the relationship you're about to start. Once you start your training, this is when we need you to arrive holistically. Put yourselves with both feet in, throw caution to the wind, and pray for truth, enlightenment, as well as a complete successful journey. Open up your heart, open up your mind, because this is when we need your insight the most. All you dream, all you feel, all you hear, all that you are in attunement to, will go along carving the beauty and the uniqueness of your journey. As a Lethwasa, remember, your family will only ever influence your work in the way you describe situations and in the information you share. Because in very important times, we're going to need your family. You are going to need your family to attend ceremonies, to be responsible for key responsible elements. If you don't rope in your family, where you can, of course, All of us have a certain level of influence. All that you share with them is going to be able to already guide and teach them to know their role within your journey. There are times when, as parents, we say things like, put your head down, close your ears, you know what you're here for, and tune out to everything else. This is amazing advice, because you know in any group of people, there's going to be talks, whether it's in front of everyone or behind your back. There's going to be divides, there's going to be existing issues, even that predates your arrival to where you find yourself. Don't get caught up in the things that you find floating in the air, because you'll float along with them. If anything, focus on what you're here for. Remember the hurt you went through, the emotional suffering, to your body physically breaking down with illnesses you can't fathom, because that's how your signs and symbols were when your calling came and arose, and now here you heed. Don't get carried along with all the things that you find. I think there's another conversation that's part of relationship management and building that comes with this three dynamic. Originally, when you train ephehlweni, you train with the mindset of Lethwasa, I need to ascend, I need to find my actual grounding and be able to use these magical talents and gifts I have. You train also because you're sick, and there's no other way for you to find health and a wealth of health if you don't go through this process. And you go through it just because. But ultimately, at the end of everything, once you've graduated and you're back in your home, in your own hut, and your ancestors are at a place where they now manifest more than they did before, now people come directly to you. No longer ukobela wako. Baze kuwe gogo. Sicela ugogo. Sicela mathambo. There's no one else now. It's just you. Please tell me. Imagine the day you're sitting endumbeni. Maybe you're in your 5th month back at home. You finally found your groove, and someone walks in. Gogo sicela mathambo. Thokoza gogo. Only for that person to tell you of endless dreams that they have had about you, and you've always been playing a role of ukuba ukobela. Say what? You weren't ready, right? I think by now in your journey you've realized that you've had no control in anything, but only how you react to it. So now the roles are flipped, and all that you learned ephehlweni spoke nothing to you now being the one who teaches. At most, you spoke to your peers while you were all going through your training, but that's still nothing that was not taught in a classroom environment. So how easy is it to move from being able to run your own practice newly and having to train a new person? You don't know what you don't know, and only when you're in that moment will you know that you don't know. And the wisest person on earth knows that they don't know everything. This now introduces the dynamic of having you to go back home, because every single family has a hierarchy. It all began with someone, with a pairing, and it trickled down all the way to you. So now you have to go ask ukobela wako, Thokoza baba. Now, this is the interesting part, because from it being a triangle, it has now turned into a 3-way point that only just ascends, because each of these levels of these people are higher than the next. So now you need to ground yourself. You need to come back to a level where you can teach while being teachable. This is the part where ukobela, the head ukobela, has the most and ultimate power. Hence you hear people say, "Ubaba ungithathela abantwana." This is where things get thrown off their axis, because that child did not dream Ukobela, but they dreamed you. So Ukobela has to realize that tumo ya hao Ukobela umunyane ki tumo ya haye. Their name is carried over with this new child. But instead of being on a positive and being able to equip you with the information, the human element finds its way to creep in. Despite how beautiful of a story you know it's meant to be, to actually watch the process of ascension, you allow the human element to mess up a perfectly good thing. There's one important relationship that almost eludes me, and that's the one from Lethwasa to their family. Do you think there could ever be a meeting or a ceremony and all these three elements not be on the same conversation, with the same understanding, and knowing how to all support each other to be successful at it? There's no way that Ukobela can make a ceremony with Lethwasa and exclude the family, or the Ukobela have a ceremony that they send a family to go do without the Lethwasa. All of us are interdependent on each other. There are some families who don't care to know. I'm aware. They don't care to know. They don't believe. They've never practiced those things. According to them, you're even on drugs. Because how could you be speaking of something that they don't know, they're not comfortable about, or they're in so much denial that there is zero progress on all sides because it's affecting everyone? And there's families that actually pretend like they do support you until when it's time for them to show up, and all of a sudden you're standing on your own. Where funds are not raised, ceremonies are not attended, or they don't even know how to participate in the ceremony to support you. Despite the lists sent or the instructions shared, whenever there's meets between these three bodies, then everybody gets to know how to support each other. At the end of the day, each one teach one. No one's bitter. No one's bigger. No one's better. We're all a part of the same family, because from then on, the moment uThwasa, ubuhlobo sibakhiwe, we're in this for life. You should be able to walk away from your training as independent as possible, where you'll sit in your practice and you'll know what to do from the moment you open till the moment you close, how to deal with certain issues, because you've set a picture and you're also long enough for you to have seen and experienced these things worked on by Ukobela. You had someone to show you how to do them and how to navigate and work on them. There are also some Ukobelas that are not ready. Some trainers aren't ready. As much as sometimes we may ask, Lethwasa, are you ready? Sometimes we feel like we want the accolade, but not quite the job. Because you gotta wake up so early, gotta sleep so late, long hours and dumbeni. You have to be dealing with this highly sensitive being in front of you. And the important part, you have to solve all their problems. Whether it's whatever it is, any single pain, any single dream, you're supposed to know how to deal with it, like by virtue of you having that title, or by virtue of having a trainee come to your home. That's not possible. The more you do something, the better you get at it. It's the attitude we apply, it's the mindsets that we hold, and it's the energies that we put into the things that we say we love. As a combination of all of those, as Ukobela, I should be able to provide you with 100% of your independence for you to run in your practice on a day-to-day basis and not feel overwhelmed. Unless if the scenario is new. That's different. But I should never make you feel like you always have to be holding on to me, because I've shortened my hand in giving you. Because I always want you to say, Baba, help, Baba, please, Baba, I need. I should, with such carefree nature, send you into the world proudly, because I know I've replicated myself, and best of things is they're better. Because I put my spirit and my heart and my soul into it. I fine-tuned, I worked on the relationship. It's not about how many twasas you have. It's not about the numbers. It's always about how that person feels when they've gone back into their home. After training, do they need a psychologist? Or do they need time to show off who they are? Who they've gone off to go be? The things they've learned, and how to now integrate back into society and add to the healers of the world and not the killers. Thank you for the comments that you leave for me, especially here on YouTube. One that stood out for me in the past week actually comes from a young lady. Her name is Gifilwe Fifi Serake. She says, Tawaza Gogo Moyo. Waiti, I just want to say thank you for such an amazing talk. I never missed to watch your videos. Waiti, I had a fear of accepting my calling, but it came to a point where I started to watch your videos, and I was loving the person that I am. I was loving to accept my calling. I had become determined. And all thanks to you, Gogo, for being such an inspiration to us and for taking us through the spiritual journey. We love you, we respect you, Gogo, forever love you, and thanks so much for the interesting talk. This particular lady stands out for me. I see her on quite a lot of my social media platforms, and shout out to you, Gifilwe. I think most especially for the fact that you are reflecting on the content I'm sharing, not just sharing the love. I appreciate that certainly, but I think it's more about the wellness that you guys have from the stuff that I share. I could be talking about anything, but I'm talking about things that mattered for me in my journey. And if they can in any way help you or influence your journey in any way, I'm most certainly very happy about that. As a Lethwasa, if you have had an experience that you would like to share, please drop it in the comment section. Also, please use the hashtag #AskGogoMoyo so I can be able to respond to you. Thank you for tuning in to another great and exciting episode of GMTV. I've been your host with the most, Gogo Moyo. Thokozani.